Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of our site lap here on Whiskey Throttle Media. We'll be talking about round two at Hangtown this weekend. We wrapped up Fox Raceway last weekend. I'm your host, Brent Bowser. Just a little intro about myself. Typically, I'm hosting our podcast for off-road and our amateur spotlight series. Ping's taking a couple weeks off. We'll be hopping in and out, switching out, so he'll be back soon. But I'm also joined by Jeff Beaver, who's our editor at large, social media manager, security guard, all the above. So he wears many hats. So welcome, Jeff. Yeah, man, excited for Hangtown. We got out of Fox Raceway. We know that's not everybody's favorite track. We're heading up to Hangtown, which also I know is not everyone's favorite track. Looking at the weather, man, it's you're gonna be there tomorrow at press day. It's gonna be 97 degrees. It's gonna be a little cooler on Saturday, about 89. So you got your work cut out for you there. Before we jump into it, though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We got Rock and Turf. So if you're in the market for some artificial grass, bike mats, changing mats, things like that, artificial grass, things like that, Rock and Turf got you covered. Maxxis tires, mountain bike, light truck tires, anything tire related, Maxxis got you covered. Speed strap, toe straps and tie downs, factory connection. We use a lot of factory connection on our test bikes, and you saw Dylan Ferrandis out there on factory connection at Fox Raceway, and he'll also be running it at Hangtown. UR Water, which I hope you've stocked up on that for this weekend, because you're probably going to need some of that up there in that heat. So UR Water, pH balanced water, so good for hydration. And Baja Designs. Baja Designs are a big part of our dual sport builds, and so check them out. And we'll talk a little bit about Bet Online AG a little later. They're recently on board, but before all that, yeah, man, stoked for Hangtown. I think it's a pretty cool track. I know it's maybe not the rider's favorite, but I think with the elevation, it's a little hard packed, but I feel like it's a good track. What are your thoughts on Hangtown?
Oh, growing up, Hangtown was an hour from my house, and of course, I have no business on a motocross track. If anybody's ever seen me ride, you tell Ping to fire my fat ass. But I always went to the national there, and so Hangtown's either cold, wet, and muddy, or just hotter than hell. And so, to me, I've always liked Hangtown because it's just kind of brutal either way, and that's what motocross should be. It should just be gnarly as hell. The fans are gnarly. The track's always been fun. I guess they changed the start a little bit and brought in a lot of sand, so that'll be interesting because last year, I mean, the ruts were so deep, it was unbelievable. I mean, I could have laid down in a rut, and I'm huge. I'm 6'1", 275, and I could have literally laid down in a lot of those ruts. They were built up so big. I'm like, how did these guys even ride through this stuff, And so I'm really looking forward to how brutal it's going to get. I think the sand's going to make it even gnarlier, but hopefully it helps hold a bunch of moisture. So, we'll see tomorrow at press day what it looks like, but it doesn't kind of bode well. Going to be 97 degrees tomorrow. They're going to have to put a lot of water on that track tomorrow night and hope it truly cools off. It's supposed to be, I think, 88 on Saturday, which is still going to be hotter than hell out there. I mean, it's just clay and river rock, so it's just going to be gnarly. It's going to be like those hills are like being in a mirror, and you just cook out there. So it's going to be fun, and I'm glad I brought a case of UR water with me.
Maybe about there in a tank top, or no shirt. I don't know. Whatever works.
I was thinking banana hammock, man, but I don't know if Davey might run me off for that, might pull my credential, but got to be funny. We get some attention.
One thing I think about Hangtown, I've been up there to watch that race a lot, and watching it on TV, obviously, over the years, is it seems like we either get a really ruddy track, or if they try to prep it different, we'll get where they don't have as many ruts. I think, was it last year or before, where they didn't rip it as deep, and the guys were complaining that there was no ruts. But it's funny, when they rip it deep, then the guys complain that it's rut cross, right? So I'll be interested to see how the sand that they laid across the track works out. I don't know if anybody's seen. Go ahead and take a look on social media. You can see all the sand that they laid around the entire track. So I'm curious how that's going to work in, and if it's just the top layer that will get blown off, or if that will get actually mixed into the track and make for some pretty crazy rough conditions. You think about that uphill, two corners after the start. If that's sand and those guys are coming through there on the start, how chaotic it can be. So yeah, interested to see how that plays out. I know a couple years ago they did those, I don't know, sawdust rice holes or whatever it was, and it was really spongy, and people didn't like that. So, but looking at the picture, man, I know it's before people took the track, but it looks very smooth and it looks awesome. Like they did a lot of work this year. So I think hopefully it turns out good because I know a lot of people either it's a love or hate relationship with Hangtown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still the longest running national on the circuit, if I'm not mistaken. You know, Dirt Diggers has been doing it a long time, so I think we'll start out with a good track. It's just what Mother Nature's going to do to it, and either way, it's going to be gnarly.
Mhm.
Going to be definitely fun to see after last weekend and some of the chatter and what's going to go down. You know, are we going to truly have a war? Or are we going to have a snooze fest? You know, where are we going to end up? So, what are your thoughts on coming out of Paula into Hangtown?
Yeah, man. I think obviously Hayden Deegan went 1-1. We'll talk about the 250 class. Hayden Deegan 1-1. Levi Kitchen 2-2. Tom Biel went 4-3. I really think, Tom didn't really, he got a good start last week, kind of slipped back, but he ended up third overall. I don't know if these West Coast tracks are really for Tom. I think if he stays on the podium, that he'll put himself in a good position when we get back east, Southwick and some of these deeper tracks. But I'm really curious to see how Kitchen responds, given all of the noise that's been going on per se. And then to see if Hayden backs it up. He's running that red plate this weekend. Again, Hangtown is it's West Coast hard pack. Again, we'll see how that sand plays out. So I don't, these guys from the East Coast, I'm not sure. Everybody leaves Hangtown is searching for bike setup, right? If you listen to the interviews we've heard all week, it's got to work on the bike, got to work on this. And so these guys are scrambling. So I'm excited to see, if Kitchen can rebound or if Hayden's just gonna, continue on his dominance for the summer, or if Tom's gonna step up as well.
Yeah, I almost thought that the West Coast stuff, the hard pack blue groove stuff, would probably fit Tom a little better. You know, in Europe, they kind of train on that. Like their training tracks are Hangtown in August when they haven't prepped it, and it's just blue groove lines. You know, if you watch videos from Europe, I thought Tom would probably be kind of used to that kind of stuff. I kind of wonder if he's got what they talk about the Supercross hangover. You know, did he spend so much time maintaining and winning that title that maybe he wasn't quite as prepared for outdoors as he would have liked? And you know, if that's the case, I think he'll catch on pretty quick. Either way, I mean, he had a podium at Paula. He's right there in the mix. I'm interested to see what how Levi reacts to Hayden. I think he handled Hayden's comments on the podium pretty well. Um, if I was sitting next to you, whether I could beat you or not, if you asked me, I'd have told you no, I'll whoop your ass. In fact, I'll take you outside right now. I wouldn't have tolerated that. So he's got a pretty
Yeah.
mellow demeanor, right? Um, but then again, I love that Hayden did what he did. Both sides of the spectrum. I like how mellow Levi is, and I like how
Yeah.
Hayden's kind of in your face and like, what? I had that. Do you think you really could have beat me? You know, he definitely learned from his dad. You know, he's mastering the jaw jacking game, and I don't know. I think Levi has it in him to get it. He had not a very good outcome at Hangtown last year, if I recall.
Yeah, it was, yeah, correct. Yeah, it wasn't
But
ideal. Yeah.
different bike, different program. So let's see. I just hope he has like kind of a ember burning in there that kind of pissed him off a little bit, and he's going to just come out there and let his riding talk, because then we win. We've
Yeah.
got two guys who are absolute badasses out there going for it, who want to show each other up, and then you got this crafty Frenchman who's he's gonna probably sneak around both of them if they get too crazy with each other. I could see that happening. I could see him just going, "Okay, you two idiots, battle it out," and I'm just gonna sneak around the outside, and then Hayden's just gonna be pissed that the French guy beat him, and Levi's gonna be, well, better him than you. I
Yeah.
don't know. I kind of see that playing out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think like you said, we have pretty opposite ends of the spectrum, right? You got Hayden, he's 18, he's got the jaw jock and stuff going on, which is fine. It makes it fun for everybody. And then you got Levi, he's got that calm, cool demeanor. And like you mentioned on the press conference, I was actually surprised. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody ask somebody, did you think you were gonna beat me or I was gonna win anyway, right? Like that was Levi was in a weird position, in my opinion, having to answer that question. Um, and then you had
Yeah, I
Tom.
was looking for the wheelbarrow. I watched him walk in, and I don't remember him carrying his balls, his brass balls in a wheelbarrow. But that, I
Dude.
mean, it was funny as shit. If I was on the receiving end of it, I'd have been hot. I'd have been talking shit. But it was funny, dude. I
It
mean,
was, yeah.
and at the end of the day, this could all be gamesmanship on
Mm.
Hayden. Maybe he really doesn't feel that way, but the kid ain't dumb. I
No,
think
yeah.
there's probably a little bit of truth to both sides of it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you think back to when I think Roxon was on RCH and he was winning those motos and he won the outdoor title that one year, he was going to the press conference with the Coors Light and a slice of pizza. I don't know if you remember that, where like that's just mind games where you're just like, I know I'm good, I know my training's good. I'm gonna show up with the beer and a pizza. And what is that going to do to these guys on the podium's confidence where I'm just rolling up here thinking, no big deal. I'll just do this and I'll be back next week. So and Hayden has that speed and intensity. Levi is that calm demeanor, but I'm curious to see like does he get his blood boiling a little bit with some of those comments? Because he couldn't. And one thing I forgot to mention last week on our site lap or riders meeting is during that first moto, Deegan's mechanic threw out the pit board that said Levi's tired. So and Levi made comments of that, and I don't see Levi really the one that caused a lot of controversy, but I think inside, like he's probably like, what in the hell is going on here, right? So I think that probably, if it didn't light a fire, I would be surprised.
Yeah, yeah, Duff was probably messing with his head. That's not the first time that a pit board's gone out like that, and maybe they'll get him back. I don't know. I don't know if Hayden's or I mean um Levi's mechanic is kind of like that that plays games, but I could see Duff having a little fun with Levi out there
Yeah.
and saucing it up a little bit.
Yeah. And you also wonder too how much of it's actually real or just more of fun because they were teammates and they all know each other so well. Like I said, we'll never know. But again, it's fun gamemanship. It makes it interesting for us as fans. And yeah, I'm happy and excited to see how this plays out because and also you have Tom Vial, like you say, crafty Frenchman. You think of Orcel, Muscan. Those guys are sneaky fast and they're not going to say a whole lot, but next thing you know, they're running away with things. So I'm excited to see how Tom bounces back and if he gets better over the next couple of rounds. But I think those three really solidify themselves as the top three. You might have some other guys sneak in there here and there, like Savachi, Swole, Hymus, those guys like that. But I feel like those three are going to be the main three for the summer.
Yeah, you gotta put Shimoda in there too.
Hmm.
That dude, he may wake up this round instead of 4 or 5 rounds into it, and if he wakes up, they're all going to be going, where the hell did he come from? That dude flat out gets down outdoors when
Hmm.
he's on. So I'm hoping he kind of lit a fire under his ass this week and got going because that kid is fun to watch outdoors. So
Yeah, and I like Joe. He's humble, and he didn't. And I was surprised he didn't have a good Fox Raceway race because he's been so good there in the past. He didn't get the best starts, and he moved forward a little bit, but he was kind of just back there in that 6, 7, 8 range. But like you said, he's got the speed to be up front. So if he can get a start and run with those guys, I think he can, give everybody a run for their money.
who do you have in the 5 to 10 kind of range?
Yeah, so I think top three, like I said, it's Hayden, Levi, Vial, but then I think from 4 to 8 is pretty open because you got Savachi, you got Shimoda, you got Hymus, you got Thrasher finished seventh, um, Smith, Ryder D, Pierce Brown. I mean, that's what's cool about the 250 class is I think from like fifth to 13th, a lot of those guys could be interchangeable. It really just depends on the start, right? I mean, you saw
Yeah.
Savachi got fifth the first moto, he went down second moto, he got to 13th, which is a good ride, but man, trying to get anywhere farther up than that, you're going to be trying to pass some really fast dudes. So that's what I like about the 250 class, the parity. And the other thing I'm curious about this weekend is last weekend we got lucky with the weather at Paula. It was 65 degrees, a little bit of overcast. In the morning, it was you probably needed a jacket in the morning. Well, maybe you didn't, but most of the guys needed a jacket where I mean they're gonna get up there tomorrow, it's gonna be 97 degrees, Saturday's gonna be 89. So it's gonna be a little hotter. And I think fitness is going to be more important this weekend than it was last weekend. So I think we'll see, the guys that really work hard and what everyone's training looks like. Because not these guys haven't done a lot of these 35-minute motos, right? So they came off Supercross, got a couple weeks under their belt. But yeah, once we get in these hotter rounds, we'll start to see who did the training, and the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah, I mean, you got to I think Hayden's flat out probably the fittest one out there, especially training down there in Florida. And I don't think fitness is going to be a problem with him. Vial, Levi, I don't think he's going to fade. I think you're right about the top probably 5 to 15 even are interchangeable. I think something tells me Swole's going to have a good ride. I don't know why. I think that kid's going to do something good. And I'm really interested to see what Mark Phineas does. Does he build off that 12? Can he crack the top 10? I think that'd be pretty cool. Definitely want to see where Jet Reynolds ends up. 16-16 for 16. I think he's the only guy who got 16-16 for landed even completely consistent and ended up. There were some guys who ended up down the ladder, even though their moto scores were better, which sucks points wise, right? That's kind of crappy, but it is what it is. But I think that was probably just more of him just getting out there and getting done. I could see Jet top 10ing this weekend, just from the reports I've heard of how he's been riding back at club. Some tells me he just didn't go full send at Hangtown. I think that was just get it through, get any kinks worked out, see how the bike feels, and just get a couple gate drops under his belt. I think I don't see a top 10 being a problem for that kid. Yeah, I'd love to see that this weekend. I think that would be super sick. Preston Baseflug, I'd like to see him get up there a little bit. I think he was like 23rd or 24th overall last weekend, but he's got more tank than that. He was top 10 in Supercross. So he scored points at his first national he ever did at Washougal last year. He's definitely got it in him to be in the probably 15 to 20 range right now, maybe even a little higher than that. And then Dylan Schwartz, dude, that guy was moving in some of those sections. That last right-hand turn before the finish line,
that outside
he was
line,
railing that outside.
Yeah,
I put a reel up on Whiskey Throttle the other day of him coming through there. He came through that thing so clean, like just perfect form, just leaned over and just was just ripping that every lap. And I was coming up the track and Nate's like, dude, you need to go check out Dylan on that corner. And I'll go, okay. So I sat there and waited for him to come around. I was like, damn. And then I watched him come around again. I'm like, okay, he's really feeling this section. So that guy's fun to ride. He's one of my picks to see who moves up. It's like Jet, Phineas, and Baseflug are the ones I'm kind of keeping an eye on, see where they end up.
Yeah, one thing about Dylan Schwartz is a couple summers ago, he had really good speed and was, running in top 10 or near the top 10. And then, yeah, I mean, we hadn't seen him all year. I don't know if he had injuries or what, but yeah, I mean, decent finish for him at Fox Raceway. And, I'll be interested to see for Jalik. I feel like everyone overlooks Jalik. And I mean, he's had a lot of injuries last year and the previous years. But I mean, watching him at Fox Raceway, he was solid, and for whatever reason, he gets overlooked. But I mean, it's no lie, the dude can rip starts, and he has the speed if he can put it together. So for whatever reason, he's overlooked. But I think he's really gelling with that team with Bobby Hewitt and the Tramp guys, and he looks comfortable. He mentioned that they missed the bike setup, at that race, but I mean, I feel like he still looked really good. So I'm excited to see how he, performs this summer because I feel like he's due for that. And yeah, put his name back on the map because whatever reason he is overlooked and people forget he won a national a couple years ago, right? So the talent's there. It's just putting the
Yeah.
puzzle pieces together. And yeah, so I'm happy for him. And then the other thing I was curious about for this weekend is, so you got, it's still a West Coast race. It's hard pack. So do you take the Fox Raceway results as like almost like Anaheim one, where you just look at them and you toss them out the window because Anaheim one never really tells you what this series is going to do, right? Do we look at that Fox Raceway that way, or no? Do you think it's indicative of what we are going to see this summer?
I think Fox is more a little indicative of what we're going to see this summer. I think it's a little different because you're fresh off. You got a 2 week break. I mean, it's different than Supercross, but they've had gate drops 2 weeks before that, right?
Yeah.
They're in race mode. It's not like coming off. They've been off racing for months and months and months. They don't know where everybody's at. They know who's doing what and who's healthy and who's not. And I think it's a little bit clearer of a picture of what's going to go on this summer.
Yeah. So I want to ask two questions for the 250 class. The first one is, who needs a bounce back this weekend? I'll start. I think even though Savatgy had a solid first round, he went like 5-12. He got caught up in that second turn pile up. You hear the interviews and Zach Osborne talking where Joey and them were their goal is the title, right? So he's already in a pretty big points gap. I feel like he's been good at Hangtown in the past. He needs a little bit of bounce back to get himself back in those points, and same with Shimoda. Not a bad Fox Raceway. I think he went 8-6, but still he's already 20 points down. So I feel like Shimoda needs to have a bounce back race to solidify himself in that title hunt. But
Is that solidified circumcision? Did you just compound that word?
well, I was just trying to come up with it. I was trying to
You
come up with a new word. You know what I mean? But you wouldn't let me have it. So,
leave the grammatical errors to me, bud.
but who do you think needs a bounce back this weekend?
Oh shit. Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
the main guys were up front, but you think of again like Joe and Jordan Smith. You got Thrasher. I don't know if those.
I got one. Casey Cochran. That guy
Oh,
was a wheel chalk both motos, and he's a much better rider than that. Casey needs to bounce back. You know, um, uh, the kid absolutely rips. Casey, it probably is the number one bounce back. Romano,
yeah, that wasn't a very good
that
showing.
that dude's I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Boy better figure it out quick,
I,
or it's gonna be bon voyage, I think, which is unfortunate for him. But
yeah,
he's almost like Jet Reynolds. He never had a chance to get going, and
yeah. He missed
maybe
that. He missed a whole year, right, with that knee injury. He rode the outdoors that one summer, and then he got hurt training for Supercross, and he was out all of 2023, and then he didn't race Supercross.
it's like that
That's
group of 250 riders. They all went out and like found a bottle of Mad Dog 2020 one night, got drunk, broke a bunch of mirrors, ran over a bunch of black cats, and they've all been screwed for a couple years. It's like,
dude.
what the hell were they doing,
I
dude? But
know.
Styles is in there somewhere too.
Hmm.
Styles is going to be standing on the side of the freeway off ramp with a cardboard sign here pretty quick. I mean, it's like, Jesus Christ, guys. I mean, could you have worse luck? And I understand. It's not all they're doing. It's just that's the way the ball bounces sometimes. But I can't remember where you've had so many guys have so much bad luck in in a class, right?
Hmm.
It's usually one that just kind of grenades but it's like a whole bunch of them have just shit the bed, really, and it's
Yeah.
not their fault, but I dude, it's like the worst luck, right? And
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know why that happened to those guys. I don't know if it's the riding styles maybe, and the way they came up and then hopping into the pro ranks, if it just was too much and they were getting hurt too quick. I don't know, but
yeah.
those guys definitely had some bad damn luck for a couple of years. It's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, and like we know, we've seen the past. You don't get a lot of time to prove yourself. Where like Romano, he finished outside the top 20. We know this is his last year on his contract with Star. Same with Styles. He's not even racing. He's still hurt. Where man, this sport will chew you up and spit you out. So and not you don't always get a second chance. We've seen with a lot of these guys that come up and they get injured, and then that's it. Like think about LeBlanc a couple years ago, Star Racing Outdoors did, the whole outdoor season, and then he didn't have a ride, and we haven't seen him since. So a lot of these guys have a lot to prove, and yeah, man, injuries are part of it, but also, these teams expect you to perform, and if you don't, it's next man up, which is it's unfortunate, but it's the name of the game, right? So, yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
I think we've got some next man up scenarios coming at the end of the season, and
mhm.
that sucks. Some of them, I think, will end up going down to the next level teams. Some of them may end up flat out privateers. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. It's rough. It's going to be really rough for some of those guys. It'll be a good ego check. Like I think Jet was probably the worst case scenario of all of them, and I think he hit as rock bottom as you could get,
oh
and
yeah,
there's nowhere up for him, right?
yeah,
So,
100%, yeah,
he's got his head right, and he's got the right people around him, and people humbling him. He's got Filthy Phil there to kick the shit out of him when he gets a little squirrely, and Garrett probably ain't gonna take no crap from him either. The other person who really needs a bounce back is Cody
yes,
Shaw. He didn't
yes,
have the best, but I saw a reel of him. I forget what it was for. I think it was for the oh God, what do you call that? Some reunion down there at Carlsbad Raceway. I think he was there checking something out, and yeah, I didn't have the best race, but he has a real good demeanor about it. So I don't think he's beating the hell out of himself about it. But yeah, he definitely needs to step back up, and I'm sure everybody at club was giving those guys a little shit that Mark Phineas came in there and mopped the floor with you boys.
yeah. He was the top finishing rider, right?
Yeah.
It was impressive. That's why I think it's so fun about the 250 class. I mean, yeah, you got your front runners, but I mean, everybody in the top 20, and even right outside the top 20, those guys rip. Where it's you don't have as much parity in a 450 class, so I think that's why it's so fun to watch the 250 class, where these guys get a start. They might get 13th the first moto, but they get a start. They're going to run up their front with those guys. So it's. I'm always looking forward to the 250 class. Those guys send it, no matter what. So um, for this weekend, for the 250 class, who's your podium? Do you think it's any different than Fox Raceway, or do you think it's going to be the same three guys, and is it the same order, or are you going somebody different for the win?
I'm going to pick Hayden to go 1-1 again. I really think he's going to go 1-1 again. I think it's in between Tom and Levi. I don't know which one of those is going to end up second. I almost want to say Tom based on Levi's finishes last year there, But one thing I will say about the 250 class that I love, you've got guys in there that just got their driver's license and hair on their balls, and you got some other ones that are taking Geritol after the races. It's a pretty mixed bag. There's some old timers in there and some kids, so it's fun to see. As an old guy, it's fun to see the older guys out there kind of mopping them up a little bit, but then it's fun to see the kids get in there and get scrappy and start talking shit at the press conference. That's fun. So I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, you definitely have a mixture of all those things. You got a guy on the podium that could be drinking a beer, then you got a guy on the podium that's could be drinking a Capri Sun, right? So we'll see how it goes. But I feel like the same way. I feel like Hayden, after I think he got another fire lit under him last week with whatever reason. He's got that chip on his shoulder, right, where he just wants to go out there and demolish these guys. I mean, he wants to put it to them. So and he's a good starter. His intensity and like you mentioned earlier, his fitness seems top notch. And so I can see Hayden going 1-1. I want to see Kitchen have a bounce back, but I don't think this is his best track. I think he'll do more. I think he'll do more work on the East Coast when we get some of the softer tracks. So I feel like Hayden will be, an overall winner for Hangtown. Hopefully Levi and Vial and some of these other guys can give him a run as well. That'd be fun to watch. But I also think Hayden's the man to beat at this moment. That's why he'll be rocking that red plate.
So talking about our picks, who's Bet Online got?
Yeah,
What are the Bet Online picks?
yeah, so for the 250 class, so Bet Online AG, we'll post a link up when we post this site lap on Instagram, and we'll also put it on our YouTube. Which I looked at it earlier. So you have three different bets that you can make. They haven't posted the whole shot bets yet, so we can't look at that. So you can either right now you can bet head to head or overall winners, where The head-to-head, you have Deegan versus Kitchen. Deegan's a -140, so you have to bet $100 to win 140. Kitchen's a +100, so if you bet Kitchen to win over Deegan, you bet 100, you win 100. So, and then you also have Deegan versus Vial, where Deegan's also -155 and Vial's +115. Personally, I don't think you can go wrong with the head-to-head. If it's Deegan versus Kitchen or Deegan versus Vial, those are the only head-to-head. I think if I was betting, putting my money on this stuff, I'd pick Deegan. Probably your safest bet. Yeah, he's the underdog. You got to bet more money to win win your money. But yeah, that's who I would bet. And then for the overall to win, this is where it gets really interesting. Is Deegan's -140. Obviously, he's the favorite. But then you start getting into Vial, he's +400. Kitchen's +200, and they put Chance Imus in there because he was fourth overall last week. He's +600. So again, I don't know if I'd go +600 Imus.
I think I'm gonna go drop a bill on Chance Hymas tonight.
I mean, you could win pretty big, but I think your safe bet obviously is Deegan, Kitchener, Vial. I don't think you could stray away from Deegan, even though he is the favorite to win, so his odds aren't the greatest. But I mean, even Vial +400, you bet $100, you win 400. I don't.
I may just do that. I mean, I'll spend $100 on Amazon tonight looking at stupid shit going, oh, look, I didn't know I needed that. I'm going to buy that. Might as well just put it on there and see if I can make a bunch of money.
Yeah. And that's what's cool about the bet online stuff. You don't have to go bet $100. You can go on there and bet 10, 5, 20, 50, whatever you want. So they're supposed to drop the whole shot odds tomorrow. But again, so basically so far you got your head-to-heads with Deegan and Vial and Kitchen, and then you have your top 4 from last week that you can.
Can you parlay on that? If you win, can you parlay it?
No, I don't. They don't have any parlays for motocross yet. But yeah, I think it's cool. And I've been betting football, baseball, basketball for a long time. So when they got involved this year, I was stoked because I remember in Supercross they had some crazy bets, and I think maybe they messed up. I think Deegan at one point was like +1600 to win one race, and I think they found out real quick they needed to change that. So I think they're getting better at that. But it's fun that we have. This is our sport, and we can go on there and bet, and then you're getting pretty good odds. So if you haven't had a chance, go on there. We'll post our link where you can go directly to betonline.ag and look at the odds that you have and the bets you can make. And yeah, man, it's fun, and it's just something more to add to your weekend.
Yeah, you can look at our Instagram page. It's in our link tree too. You can go through that and sign up through our link tree on Whiskey Throttle Media's Instagram as well.
Cool. So jumping into the 450 class, man, after listening to the podium interview and some of the interviews Jet had last week, he said he wasn't comfortable.
Jet. It's just Jet. It's all Jet.
He said he wasn't comfortable. I'm like, he went 1-1. He's like, I wasn't happy with the bike. Those guys were close to him, but I mean, were they really? They were, but like, how hard was he trying? So I don't know, man. I hope it's interesting this summer. I mean, it is cool to see, this is a generational talent. He's now 24-0. We're going to another track. Is anybody going to put it to him? What do you think? I mean, is anybody going to, can somebody get a start over him? Because, his brother did last weekend for a couple corners, and Jet, blitzed him right away. Hunter was all over him for a while, but I feel like, man, Jet just puts himself in good situations, and he's never really having to fight his way through, a poor start. He's always up front. Those Hondas last week looked like rocket ships off the start grate. So, man, I don't know, but what do you think? What do you think about everyone else's odds against Jet?
Not good. I mean, he's just the guy right now. It feels like Ricky back in the day. Like. Mm-hmm. You were almost astonished when he didn't win, right? Oh my shit, he lost a moto,
Yeah,
I mean, it feels like that, and I don't know. I hope Chase doesn't end up like K-Dub, getting a win here and a win there, and has to deal with that shit. That would suck. But I really think that Chase is capable of getting him. I really do. I think he's just got a hell of a slippery slope. He's going up against a phenom. He's going up against this generation's Bubba.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And he
And
was born. He was
you
born.
know,
It almost feels like he was born in the wrong generation, right? It's like if he was born in any other generation, he would be the man, and then he got slot in with Jet. Where I mean, Chase showed a couple years ago against Eli that he was the next guy up, and then now you get this young kid that comes up and takes kind of your thunder. It's like I'm sure Chase is probably like, dude, what the heck? You know, what can I do?
yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, like when it came to Supercross and all that stuff, Ricky always said that he couldn't beat Bubba straight up, but
Mm-hmm.
he made Bubba make a mistake. You know, and this has been rehashed a million times by a million people, but that's what's got to happen. They've got to get close enough to frustrate him, stick a wheel on him, not ride dirty, but just annoy the shit out of him enough to make a mistake, and do that consistently. And you know, I think in certain situations there are places that Chase can run with them straight up. Super depressed that Tomac's not there, because I think the old man would have had something for Junior at some of these tracks outdoors. I mean,
Yeah.
beast mode is beast mode. I mean, Jet's fluid and smooth, but
Yeah.
the shortest line around the track is the
The
roughest one, and
roughest.
nobody's afraid to go wide open through the roughest shit than Eli. So
Yeah.
that really sucks. We didn't get to see that. And Ken kind of proved last year that
Mm-hmm.
he could
Mm-hmm.
be right up there. And Ken was on that Suzuki, which, hey, Ping rode it. We tested that bike. It's a phenomenal bike what they did, but it's not a factory Honda, right?
No.
So Roxon gave him a run for his money. I think Chase will have this bike figured out sooner than later, and I think he'll start giving him a run for his money. I think Jet's going to make it extremely difficult. I think that kid makes really, really good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
just, his race smarts seem to be really, really, really beyond his age, right? What is he? He'll be 21 in July, I think. And
Yeah. Yeah.
he doesn't make his race decisions like that. But even like after that whole Anderson thing in Supercross, you watch his demeanor everywhere else. It's like after he caught all that crap and got booed for a while, okay, no more fun jokey Jet. I'm just gonna kick the living shit out of you guys,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
um I think that's the Jet we're getting right now, and I think we're gonna see it a long time. But do I see anybody taking a championship from him anytime in the near future? No. Do I see wins here and there? Yeah. I still stick to my guns that as long as AP's healthy, I think AP could really screw up his perfect season plans at Southwick. I could see that.
Yeah. One thing about Jet too is we haven't seen anybody catch, pass, and leave him yet, right? People get close. We've seen Chase do it multiple times last year. Same as last year at Fox Raceway. Chase hounded him those motos. Did the same thing with second moto at Fox Raceway this year. He went off the track, caught back up, finished, like 1.3 seconds behind him. But no one has caught, passed, and gapped Jet yet. So I'm just curious if once that happens, is that going to change anything for Jet's mental, someone else's mental? Because right now he's untouchable. These guys get near him, he rides just fast enough, and it doesn't look like he's really pushing the edge. But I'm just wanting to see someone catch him, pass him, and gap him, and see how he responds. Because, like you mentioned, Roxon last year, I think that was really his only true test. Yeah, Chase has been close, but Roxon had to set the fastest time. Roxon was out front, then Jet had that crash, and then Roxon had that crash and had to kickstart his bike like no one does since 2014. But either way, he showed he's beatable, but again, no one's done it. So you can only imagine Jet's confidence right now that no one's actually caught and passed him. Like I would think, I'm untouchable. You guys come up, good luck, but I'm gonna just be up here and come get me.
See, there's another thing where we missed having in helmet mics, man. Imagine having the audio in Roxon's helmet when he's kicking that bike.
Dude, he was probably
he
about to
was
he was about to
he
throw
was
up. He was so tired kicking that thing.
oh yeah, he was speaking in tongues in that one. He was pissed, and then when he took off, his tongue was in his spokes. But up to that point, I thought he was going to beat Jet straight up. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And Roxon's a world class rider. And yeah, man, it'll be interesting. Like you said, Chase, I think, has a really good shot at, getting some moto wins. Um, I would love to see him. I would love to see anybody start in front of Jet just to see, But the crazy thing is, Jet's like he's lethal on those opening laps. I mean, you saw with Hunter, he ripped that whole shot, and Jet was just immediately to the front and kind of set the pace. Where, yeah, you might be a little bit fast for me right now, but you're not going to get around me. I'm going to ride this pace, and then you're going to fall off. I'm going to keep going. And yeah, and he just, he just keeps ticking him off 24-0. I saw this interview with him and Stewart. Stewart's like, go get it, boy. If you get 25-0, we have to play a round of golf. And James said, I'll beat you there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how long this streak goes. If someone can challenge him, I think his just mental game is just strong and his confidence is at all-time high. Where why wouldn't it be? You've won 24 straight motos, so I don't know what else you can really do for yourself.
Yeah, I don't know either, dude. It's I don't know. I drop back down to the 250 class, start drinking. I don't know.
Hey,
I'd be highly depressed right about now if I was in the 450 class. I'd be like, man, I'm just gonna be a privateer and be a hero, man. Like, hell yeah, I made the main. Woohoo.
I always wonder, like, what if Sexton rolled up at the starting line in Hangtown eating a Jetson donut? Would that change? Maybe throw him off a little bit. I don't know. You got to do something. I don't know. Maybe some old J Law talk. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know. I think hire Anderson to start messing with him. I don't know. Yeah. Jason, want to make a few bucks?
Yeah, I know. Maybe. Hey, we'll see if Anderson holds shots this weekend. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, again, I think obviously Jets, in my opinion, the favorite to win again this weekend, win the title. It's still early, obviously. A lot could happen. Hunter got second overall last weekend. I mean, dude impressed me in that second moto. He was all over his brother for 15 minutes. He kind of dropped back at the end of the second moto, but I mean, I thought he was going to be around J. Coop and Francis and those guys, AP, but I mean, man, he separated himself. We'll see how it goes this weekend, but
Where'd Justin Cooper end up?
he ended up fifth overall. So J. Coop did good. He had a good first moto.
Yeah, he got the hard charger award, didn't he?
Yeah, and he felt he was in that second moto pile up. So I feel like J. Coop, he's good at Hangtown. He's a good starter. I see J. Coop being a threat for a podium. Same with AP. Even Ferrandis. I mean, Ferrandis went 7.5. He crashed that first moto. He's on that Phoenix Honda. So I feel like the first two. I feel like Jet and Chase are kind of solidified, and Hunter's kind of in there too. But I feel like between J. Coop, Hunter, or AP.
I think you got to put Hunter right there with him.
Yeah,
I really do. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall down there at the compound to see how many times Hunter actually beats Jet during the week.
Yeah, that would be interesting for sure. Yeah.
No, we're not going to hear that, but I don't know. Maybe we can get some of those CIA meds and go drug Myrtle and start asking him questions in a room with a flashlight, like how many times did you beat him? And see if we can get that out of him. But I don't know. I think you got to put Hunter in there because he's crafty as shit. He kind of reminds me of Marv on his riding.
Very like he
surprises you.
Yeah, and
he surprises you.
His technique is really good. He's very critical. I think critical in his riding style. Where Jet's more loose, I feel like Hunter's more methodical. Where what he's doing, where he's going. But I don't know, man. Those first 15 minutes of that second moto last week, I was like, damn, what lit the fire on Hunter, because he was sending it, and he wanted to get his brother right. They want to get back to the truck, and he wants to kind of poke at him a little bit. So, I feel like the top 10 of the 450 class is kind of where the depth falls off after that. It's not, there's not as much parity because you got Jet Lawrence and Chase and Hunter and those guys. But yeah, man, I think
I got an idea. We need to order up some of Crockett Meyer's coffee and send it to Chase and tell him to go down about 4 cups of that shit before the motos, and either he's going to blow mud or blow by him, one of the two.
I hope he's not wearing white gear if he's doing that.
I hope I'm not behind him on the track. I hope I'm not in the corner he goes blowing by. Is that wrist or? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be, and Jets had issues at this track in the past. I think about that year he won his first championship in the 250 class. I mean, I feel like he had to get like 12th or something like that. And he wrecked like 4 times that second moto, and it got close. So yeah, obviously he won last year, but I think these tracks are more, I think where he's more vulnerable. But we'll see, right? I mean, again,
Have you heard rumors about them kind of the track builder at Hangtown trying to make it as difficult on Jet as they can? Have you heard any of that bullshit?
I haven't heard, but I mean, honestly, I've never seen that track like that. I've been to Hangtown a bunch. I've seen it from the past. It's always been rock hard, blue grooved, and then there was years where they soaked the shit out of it. They added those rice holes or wood chips, and it was like spongy. But if you look at Instagram, you can see on social media where they've laid that layer of sand where I've never seen them add sand to that track. So yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it doesn't make the track worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I haven't heard anything like that.
I was listening to Blair and the boys on the way up here today, and they made a good point of, well, if you're trying to make it hard on work, to where everybody else can do, where else does everybody do better than Jet? I mean,
Yeah.
are they just, if they're making it gnarly on Jet, is everybody else just like, thanks, 100 freaking degrees out here on one of the gnarliest tracks, and you just made it even rougher to kind of punish him. You're going to kick the living crap out of all of us. I wonder if that comes into play. Be interesting to see. I like to kind of cruise around the pits and just see what I hear. It'd be interesting to see what I pick up, but I don't really spit all that out either. You got to kind of hold that stuff to your chest, But
and one
I
other
think
thing
it'd be
is
interesting what they say about that.
agreed. One other thing too is I mentioned it earlier. Jet mentioned on the podium he wasn't happy with his bike. Again, he went 1-1. But what I thought was interesting is he's on the same bike as last year. Obviously, they have settings that they've had from years prior. Same bike, same tracks, where he wasn't happy. So I'm curious to where it's like, did his game elevate to where he couldn't set up his bike the same way as it was last year? Is he riding differently? And did they figure it out this week? And is he going to be better? Is he going to be the same where people can challenge him? Like we'll find out. But I just thought that was interesting because he's undefeated last year, and they have the setup from last year, but he was struggling with it. So I don't know if it was a track, different riding style, or what was going on. But I thought that was very interesting.
That track last weekend held the moisture pretty good. I was running around on it all day in between motos. We'd cross over in sections when the AMA cleared the track, and we could, and especially back up by that step up. And I was surprised how much moisture was still in that dirt. I'm wondering if they set it up to be like, the last couple of Paulas when they've raced there, it's been hot, dry, and just brutal and rough. So if they went off those settings from last time, they might have missed the mark. That track was ripped pretty good, and it did hold the moisture in a lot of areas pretty well. So that could have played into it. But Christian's probably one of the raddest mechanics out there. Just what he's doing. I can't see him doing something wrong with the bike. You know what I mean? If you look at Christian, he looks like he eats crayons, but he's actually very intelligent, and he's fun to pick on. So I hope he actually stoop low enough to watch me say this, but he's super sharp. Him and Cam for Hunter's bikes. Those two are kind of a dynamic duo in the 450 class in the paddock as far as mechanics go. If you ask me, I like to go pay attention. As the guy building all our moto builds for Whiskey Throttle, I learned a lot from watching what those guys do in the paddock. So I try to pay attention, and you can see who are good mechanics and who are like, oh, shit, hope the wheel don't fall off, and those dudes, those dudes are pretty damn good at what they do. I don't think they miss much.
Yeah. The last thing on the whole track and bike setup is, if the track's anything like looks like in the pictures this weekend with the sand, I don't think they're going to take a lot of settings from last weekend to this week, and that will work, right? It's going to be a lot softer, deeper, if that sand holds up. So I'm sure they're going to be searching for some settings, not just Jet, but everybody in 250, 450 class, right? It's going to be totally different than it was last weekend. So that'll be interesting. I wanted to touch a little bit on our Bet Online AG for the 450 class. There's some cool bets on here. Again, you have the head versus head, one-on-one, and then you have the overall winners. So you have which I think this is a good one. You got Hunter versus Anderson. So Hunter's the favorite at -185 against Anderson at plus
Now, is this
145.
for position at the finish line or who takes who out?
Yeah, I think it's for the finish line, but maybe they should have one that's about who takes who out first.
Yeah, if the guys in BetAG are watching this, it should be who punts who into next Tuesday. That'd be a hell of a bet. I'd place that one.
You probably need one for Anderson. Like, how many people does he take out in a race? Over unders, over or under 5. So
Yeah, just whack,
yeah.
on the way out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got Hunter -185 against Anderson. I think I would probably stay away from that one because I feel like those guys are close. Anderson got 4th in the second moto, and again, he didn't get a good start. And then, so I would probably stay away from that one. This one I like is Sexton at -160 versus Hunter at +120. So Sexton's the favorite. So you bet 100 to win, bet at 160, win 100 versus Hunter, which is +120. But I feel like if I was going to bet this weekend, again, I'm not a professional gambler, so don't listen, be safe with your money, but I would pick Sexton to beat Hunter this weekend. But you just never know. But I feel like that's a pretty good bet that I think. And then the other bet is the odds to win. And obviously they're catching a trend here. Jets a -500. So you'd have to bet $500 to win 100. So they're starting to pick up that Jets really good. And if you want to take that risk, that's on you. They gave Hunter a +425 to win. So if you bet $100, you win 425. Good bet. Again, I don't know if anybody's going to beat Jet. Sexton's +250. I feel like if I wasn't willing to do the -500 bet on Jet, I would do the +250 on Sexton because I feel like he has the second best odds to win. So if you bet $100, you win 250. And then they put Barsha in there at +900. So don't get your money. Yeah, get your money out, Jeff. If Barsha pulls this off, you're taking us to dinner.
I ain't betting on Barsha, buddy. I like that. I like that. I think that Sexton bet's a pretty safe
I agree.
bet.
I agree.
Plus, I really like Hunter, but the way that Chase rode last weekend, I think that it'll be my picks are going to be Jet, Chase, Hunter again.
Yep, I might throw some money on the Sexton one +250. I mean, my heart wants Chase to win. My brain says Jet's probably going to win again. But again, you just, never know. So it's cool. So if you guys haven't had a chance, check out betonline.ag. We'll post the link and everything. Awesome that they're getting into Supercross motocross betting. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up with, let's talk about the podium. Who's your podium for the 450 class at Hangtown?
So I guess I kind of blew that, jumped the gun a little bit, but I think it's going to be Jet. I think he's going to win one. I think you're going to have Chase probably go, I don't know, 3-2, and maybe Hunter go 2-3. It seems like Hunter's a little bit better at the beginning, and I don't know. I see him swapping moto scores with Chase getting the better of the two. I don't know. I don't know where AP plays into that. He was on fire. I don't know. I was pretty stoked to see him just come out firing after a broken arm and ride like that. We may look like complete dumbasses more than we already do, and he comes out and podiums and like, oh, I missed it on that one. So
he was
again, don't make any bets off of what I say. Blame Brent.
Yeah, blame me.
Yeah, blame Brent. He lives in Bakersfield. Go find him up there, kick his ass.
It's we'll just go down the street and try to find someone with some money and make some bets. I don't know.
I'd steal Nate's truck and to go take it to the pawn shop for a couple $100 and put that money on Sexton and then go get it back out of pawn and then and keep the money. I think that's a pretty safe one.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I think the podium. So I think Jet's going to win the overall, but I feel like I want to say he's going to get his first moto loss this weekend. I feel like Chase is going to get the first moto. So I feel like Chase is going to go 1-2. Jet's going to go 2-1. So it's going to go, Jet overall, but Chase is going to get that first moto win. I'm putting this into existence. So Chase will go 1-2 for second. And honestly, Hunter, I was thinking back and forth between Hunter but Anderson, because Anderson's a good. He's from New Mexico. He's good at the slick stuff. So I'm gonna go Jet 2-1, Sexton 1-2, and Anderson whatever it is to make third overall. I feel like Anderson will end up on the box if he can stay off the ground, because he's good at that hard packed stuff. And then you're gonna have Hunter and AP kind of in between there too, right? So it's gonna be NJ Coop. So it's gonna be fun to watch at Hangtown. These guys are gonna be sweating this weekend. It's gonna be hot. It's got that new track with all that sand, so we'll see how it plays out. And so I'm just excited to see how it plays out.
If Anderson makes the podium, do you think you'll have that 1,000-yard Anderson stare at the bake on? Did you see that meme at I forget what press conference it was, but it looked like he just took like 10 bong rips before he went to the press conference, which is all.
Well, you know which one that was. That was the one he was in there with Hunter and Jet, where everybody kept asking Hunter and Jet questions, and no one was asking Jason anything. So he was just literally standing there like this.
It's just like, somebody put me out of my freaking misery.
I think I asked him a question. I felt sorry. I'm like, all right, Jason. So
he's like, huh? What? I'm just talking. Wipe the drool off the side of his face. Yeah, I'd like to see him do good, because boy, dude, I still think he's one of the raddest guys to watch when he's firing and shirt tail flapping. I don't think anybody's really talking about him to really light the world on fire this summer. And he's got one national win, so
yeah, I mean,
I'd like to see him stay healthy and re-up with Cowie and come back and for Super Motocross, or do good in Super Motocross and come back next year and start slaying some dragons here.
Him and Prado next year. That'll be fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see, right? So yeah, that's all I have. Anything else you want to touch on for Hangtown?
Why do you got to say touch on? Why do you got to make it sound like that?
Are we gonna start getting clips out of this? Like where we're making fun of each other and putting it on as a drop?
Yeah, I don't know who's coming for me, but
you just said that. Hey.
Yeah, I set myself up for that one. That's all right. The guy's cool. He's got his thing going on. No, nothing else I really want to touch on. Just pray for my fat ass running around out there on that track. I'm going to look like a fat lobster come Saturday afternoon. I was really hoping that they had the online press conference going so that I could just pack my shit and split and you could do it. But
yeah, no, I'm surprised that I was actually surprised they didn't have that. But I guess probably you don't always have Wi-Fi and all that.
I don't know if I don't know if they're working on that. That's something I'd like to talk to Davey about and just see. I think it'd be great, because I know they have Starlink now, and once they get that all situated, maybe the thought was hey, let us do a season with the Starlink and make sure everything works everywhere.
Yeah.
But I would love to see I really liked how Phil did the online press conference, because it gave us the opportunity to hop in there, because we didn't make every round, or if I was dragging my ass across the concrete on the way out the stadium, you could get in there. And there was a couple times I was in the press conference and I was like, Jason, I was like, and Dan would look at me like, he can ask something. I'm like, do I look smart enough? Normally I don't look smart enough, but do I look smart enough right now? I'm sitting there all, I barely mustered up enough to ask RJ what the hell he was going to do in 24 at Salt Lake. He answered me. I got up and stepped off out of the way and almost fell over. Joe looked at me like, man, you all right? I'm like, no, I'm going home. I'm old. I'm old and fat and I'm beat. Get off my lawn.
I need an IV. I need an IV.
Right, that wouldn't have been a bad idea, dude. They should have that for guys like us, dude. Just have an IV truck down there and get slammed between motos and be all dialed. My luck, somebody stick some Red Bull in there and be all wired up and have a heart attack. So,
all right, guys. Well, that's Sight Lap for this week for Hangtown. Again, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors: Rock and Turf, Max's Tires, Speed Strap, Factory Connection, UR Water. You're gonna need a lot of that, Jeff. So make sure you pack a case. Baja Designs and BetOnline.ag. We'll see you guys for Riders Meeting after this weekend.
Yep, check it out. See you guys.